Senator Tillis. Thank you for being here and for all the work you're doing on this important issue, and my colleagues on the panel. Thank you for that question. Let me just say, look, we learned a lot from with negotiations with North Korea, and they continue. They're in abeyance for a long period of time, but that doesn't mean they can't be reestablished in a meaningful way, as long as there's a commitment on the part of the other party to do what they said they would do, and that's the key: monitoring and verification. Monitoring and verification. Obviously, the key has to be the monitoring and verification regime. Do we have access, unfettered access? Do we have that? And what is the process for adjudicating issues where sovereignty issues, if you will, on the part of the Iranian government will say, well, the sovereignty issues, you can't have access. Well, what are we doing on that? How do you get through that? And Dr. Anand, you mentioned that, and Ambassador Joseph, and so forth. So these are key issues: monitoring and verification. It not only means access to facilities, it means access to individuals, the scientists, the technologists. It means having access to the documentation. I mean, in North Korea, it's so much easier, in my view, than Iran. In Iran, we're talking about 18 sites in 9 different locations that we know of that have been declared. It's immense. So for the IAEA, you got to give them a lot of credit. They're going to have to be out there and so forth. I will mention this also: sanctions. You don't give up on sanctions. It's the one card, it's a major card, it's a lever you have. If you give that up immediately, you don't have much to bargain with. Look what they're doing territorially in the region, their relationships in the region. That's important because that speaks to intent. Intent. When you have the issues in Yemen and in Iraq and Syria, and you mentioned Hezbollah and so forth. I mean, when you look at the Revolutionary Guard, when you look at the reported attempt to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States, perpetrated by the Quds forces of the Revolutionary Guard, you say, what are we dealing with here? Let me also cite the IAEA, the Director General's reports to the Board of Governors. The most recent one is February 2015. When you go through this report and you go through the previous reports, it's so powerful to hear that here's the IAEA monitors saying, we don't have access. They're denying access. To use their language, it's unreal. To look at it, the agency remains concerned about the possible existence in Iran of undisclosed nuclear-related activities involving military-related organizations, including related to the development of a nuclear payload for a missile. It goes on and on. So here are the people saying that, and now you're talking about a report coming from the British, speaking about the supply chain, which is very important. And here's Iran that's capable of producing, and I look to Ambassador Joseph and Dr. Anand, they can produce the very sophisticated centrifuges, and they can go to a very high level to really spin. But they do still need that chain and supply chain. So what does it tell you? It speaks to intent. It speaks to intent loud and clear. To do it, it's flagrant to do it even at this time in the midst of negotiations, to be going out to procure materials for the production of even more sophisticated centrifuges.